That negative inner critic that tells you that you're not good enough to do something, you're not smart enough, you don't have enough money, all those negative thoughts about yourself is not you. That is the ego mind, and the ego is the false self. Your true self is the soul. And in order to have a human experience, we must have an ego, because the ego is our identity. It gives us the illusion of separation, because as a soul, we're all connected as one. So in order to have this human experience, we need that illusion of separation. So it's important to have an ego. However, it's the false self, and it's where all your negative, fear-based thoughts come from. When you operate from the ego mind, you're operating from the lower frequencies. I'll show you a picture of the scale of consciousness, and the lower frequencies is where the ego likes to keep you. Your true self, the soul, is when you're operating in these higher frequencies. It's when you're out of the ego mind and you're more connected to your heart. When you tune into your heart, like you drop out of the head and you're tuned into the body, connected to the heart, that is when you instantly raise vibration and are operating from the soul. So understanding that there's basically two versions of you, the false self and the true self, and to not identify with the false self. Understanding that it's important to have for the human experience, but to not identify with it, because a lot of people identify with these negative thoughts, with that negative inner critic, and it's not you. And so one tip I will give in this video, I'll give a few tips, but the first tip I'll give is to separate yourself from the ego mind. Some people suggest to give your ego a name. Like my name's Laura, obviously. So it could be like, oh, I could call my ego Jessica. For me, that doesn't resonate, because Laura is the name of my ego. Once I die, that's the end of Laura, that's the end of the ego, right? So for me, I just call it ego. That's just how I refer to it. And it's great to do that to separate yourself from it, so you stop identifying with it. And learning to, tune in to your body and connect to your heart and start connecting and operating from your soul more. So in order to do this, one way is to raise vibration. When you raise vibration, you start operating in these higher frequencies. You won't have those negative thoughts. So here's a cool little fact that I learned. Your emotional state controls the types of thoughts that you have. So if you're operating in these low negative emotions, those low frequencies, it's going to cause you to have negative thoughts. However, as you raise vibration and get out of those negative low frequencies and you improve your emotional state to be more positive, you naturally will just have positive thoughts. So you aren't your thoughts or emotions. So like Nikola Tesla said, like the brain is just a receiver that receives thoughts, and you receive thoughts based on your emotional state. So those negative thoughts of how you're not good enough, like that is not you. You aren't your thoughts or emotions. You are the conscious awareness that can take the step back and observe your thoughts and emotions. The true you, the true self, doesn't change. It always stays the same. It's the thoughts and emotions that come and go. So your true self never changes. So it's really great to, like I say, separate yourself from that ego mind, realizing that the negative thoughts aren't you and you don't have to identify with it. Learning to raise vibration, and as you do that, you won't have as much of those negative thoughts. And I'm going to share some other tips that you can do, which is to help quieten the inner critic, which is firstly, get out of the head and into the body. So our awareness, we can move it around the body. So right now, try it with me. Put your awareness in your right hand. And you can feel your awareness in your right hand. Now put your awareness in your left foot. And you can feel your awareness is now in your left foot. And you can put your awareness in your heart, which this is a great way to connect to your heart. put your awareness there and you connect to your heart. So the problem for most people is their awareness is sitting up here, operating from their ego mind, and they don't have that awareness. Like, I was one of those people that I didn't have awareness around my own ego mind. I didn't know it was controlling me in these negative ways until I learned what the ego mind was. And then once I had that awareness, oh, this is how the ego operates, then I don't allow it to control me as much. It's just, the ego, you know, it's where all your negative fear-based thinking comes from, but it has good intentions. It's just trying to keep you safe. It's just trying to keep you in the comfort zone. So you may notice when you try something new, you step out of the comfort zone, that's when the negative inner critic steps in with those negative thoughts of why you're not good enough. Because it's just the ego trying to keep you safe by getting you back into the comfort zone, because the ego doesn't like the unfamiliar. So when you step out into unfamiliar territory, that's usually when the self-doubt shows up. And the self-doubt is just the ego trying to get you back into the familiar. So understanding that has really helped improve my life, because now I can acknowledge, oh, this is just the ego. I don't have to listen to the ego. It doesn't control me as much. So it's really great to incorporate some practices that will shift your awareness from sitting up here and getting into the body and connecting to your heart. So the first practice you can try for this is meditation. As you go into a meditative state, one of the aims of meditation, because there are different purposes for meditating, one of the aims is to drop your brainwaves. And as your brainwaves start dropping, that's when you drop from the mind and into the heart. When that happens, your ego goes quiet. So the analytical mind, the internal chatter, stops. You have no thoughts. You just become pure awareness. You become your true self. You're more connected and operating from the soul. And it's a really amazing feeling. Like, I find it quite addicting because you feel so good when you get out of that ego mind. Another way to get out of the head and into the body is just nature connection. Just by going out in nature, it's a great way to connect to spirit. And it will ground you in the body, gets you out of the ego, and that's when you will start operating from your higher mind, your higher self, your soul. So you have the higher self connected to the soul. And so when you're out of the ego, you're not receiving those negative inner critic type thoughts. As you raise vibration, you're operating from the soul, you'll start receiving more positive thoughts from your higher self. Really like uplifting and inspiring type thoughts that will really help you on your life's journey, and it will help guide you to where you're wanting to go. So this is really going to improve your life when you learn to separate from the ego, get out of that ego mind, and start connecting to the higher self that's connected to your soul. Another great way to get out of the ego mind is using mindfulness practices. And the idea is mindfulness gets you into the present moment. And as you come into the present moment, it dissolves the ego. So once again, ego shuts up. And the last tip for this is just deep conscious breathing. A lot of us don't do deep conscious breathing. We have short, shallow breathing from the chest. Deep conscious breathing is breathing into the belly, using the diaphragm. And this is another great way of, grounding you in the body, getting you out of that ego mind, raising vibration. So I would highly recommend incorporating at least one of these practices into your day-to-day life. And you can just mix it up and do different practices on different days. Do whatever works for you, what you enjoy. I use all of them myself because they're all great practices. So yeah, now we're going to move on to the second tip. And the second tip is to release suppressed emotions from the body, because all of us are carrying around repressed and suppressed emotions in our bodies. And this is what lowers our vibration, keeps us in those negative low frequencies. And like I said earlier in the video, it's your emotional state that controls the types of thoughts that you have. So because a lot of us have suppressed emotions in the body, it causes us to have a lot of negative thoughts. So by releasing the suppressed emotions from the body and you start clearing them out, it will just naturally raise your vibration, and as a result, you'll naturally just have positive thoughts. And if you want to know how to do that, how to release suppressed emotions, I will link a video at the end of this one because I learned this from Dr. David Hawkins' book, Letting Go. And I have a video that shares the 5 life-changing lessons that I learned from that book. And the last lesson in that video is the letting go technique that I teach you that you can start applying so that you can start releasing suppressed emotions today, basically. So I would highly recommend watching that video if you really want to get rid of these suppressed emotions. And my last tip is to reprogram. So the ego mind runs on, it's a program. And those negative thoughts have been programmed into you of why you're not good enough. I remember as a kid growing up, I had critical parents. And they were always criticizing me, and more than my brother and sister, right? So I was kind of treated like the reject child of the family. That's kind of like my perception on it. And my brother and sister did get treated a bit better, but because I was always criticized from a very young age by my own family, that caused me to have these negative programs and these negative self-limiting beliefs of like, I'm not good enough, I can't do this thing, I'm not smart enough, I don't know how. Like, it's just a program that someone else has put there. And so it's very powerful to start reprogramming yourself with positive thoughts. And you can find, YouTube videos that are for subconscious reprogramming, where it's just saying all these positive affirmations like, I am successful, money is easy to make and comes to me so effortlessly, whatever it may be. Just start reprogramming your mind with this positivity on a daily basis. What's even more powerful is if you do it whilst meditating. Put on some headphones, go into a meditation, listen to these positive affirmations to reprogram the subconscious. And the reason I recommend doing this in meditation is because, like I said, meditation helps you to drop brainwaves. And when you drop into theta brainwave, so we've got beta brainwave, alpha, theta, delta. Theta brainwave is when you're in that light sleep, the dreamlike state. And that is when you're in the subconscious mind. So once you enter that brainwave, whilst listening to these positive subconscious reprogramming affirmations, it's a very powerful way to change your subconscious programming. And repetition is the key. So you want to create this daily practice of doing this and listening to these new positive affirmation type thoughts. Start programming your mind with that. And naturally, you will start having more positive thoughts about yourself. You'll start believing that you can do these things, and it will help to quieten down that negative inner critic. So I hope you liked this video and you got value, and if you did, just let me know by smashing the like button or write a comment. I'm going to link the video at the end that will share my 5 life-changing lessons from letting go, and we'll share the letting go technique so you can release the suppressed emotions. I'll also share a second video that will teach you more about raising vibration, because as you raise that vibration, it helps you to get out of that ego mind and more connected to your soul. Naturally, you'll have more positive thoughts. So thanks for watching and have an awesome day. Peace.